ॐ गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगं मवामहे कविं कवीनामुपवश्रवस्त्रमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पद आनुशृण्वोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ महागणाधिपतये नमः ॐ महागणाधिपतये नमः ॐ महागणाधिपतये नमः ॐ केशवाय नमः ॐ नारायणाय नमः ॐ माधवाय नमः ओम गोविंदाय नमः ओम विष्णुवे नमः मत्सूदनाय नमः त्रिविक्रमाय नमः वामनाय श्रीधराय नमः ऋषिकेशाय नमः पद्मनाभाय नमः दामोदराय नमः संकर्षणाय नमः वासुदेवाय नमः प्रद्युम्नाय नमः अनिरुद्धाय नमः पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः दोक्षाय नमः नारसिंहाय नमः अच्युताय नमः जनार्दनाय नमः हरे नमः श्री कृष्णाय नमः. Dear friends, we came to the 13th chapter of Mahabhagavata Purana. In the Shashta Skanda, sixth Skanda, chapter 13, King Indra afflicted by Brahma hathya dosha. This chapter describes the Indra's fear at having killed a Brahmana, Vratasura, and it also describes how he fled and was saved by the grace of Lord Vishnu. When all the gods requested Indra to kill Vratasura, he refused because Vratasura was a Brahmin. The demigods, however, all the other gods, however, encouraged Indra not to fear killing him because Indra was protected by the Narayana Kavacha, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Lord Narayana. Even by a glimpse of the chanting of Narayana's name, one becomes free from all the sinful reactions of killing a woman, cow, or a Brahmana. The demigods advised Indra, the other gods advised Indra to perform an Aswamedha yaga, sacrifice by which Narayana would be pleased. For the performer of such a sacrifice is not implicated in sinful reactions, even if he kills the entire universe. This is too much exaggeration, I think. Too much universe is something beyond, that is annihilation of all the lokas. Following this instruction from the other gods, King Indra fought Vratasura, but when Vratasura was killed, everyone was satisfied. But King Indra, who knew Vratasura was a position, he was a devotee of Narayana also, but he supported the Asuras against Indra. This is the nature of a great personality. Even if a great personality acquires some opulence, he is always ashamed and regretful if he acquires it illegally. Indra could understand that he was certainly entangled by sinful reactions for killing Brahmana. Indeed, he could see sinful reaction personified following him, and thus he fled here and there in fear, thinking of how to rid himself of these sins. He went to Manas Sarovar. There, under the protection of the goddess of the fortune, he meditated for 1,000 years. During this time, Nahusha reigned over the heavenly planets. Nahusha became a Indra at that time on those 1,000 years as the representative of Indra. Unfortunately, however, he was attracted by the beauty of Indra's wife, Sachi Devi, and because of his sinful desire, he had to accept the body of a serpent in his next life. Indra later performed a great sacrifice with the help of exalted Brahmanas and saints. In this way, he was released from the reactions of his sinful killing of a Brahmana. So this is the summary of this chapter, but we are going in detail of the chapter. Start with the Shukavacha. Shukavacha Vratre hate trayo loka vinashekrena bhurida sapala hurvanodyo vijwara nivartendriya. Shukamani, Shuka Maharishi is telling Parikshit Raja, king, O Parikshit Raja, who are so charitably disposed, when Vratasura was killed, all the presiding deities and everyone else in the three planetary system was immediately pleased and free from trouble. Everyone, that is, except Indra was not happy. Although he killed him, he was not happy. Thereafter, the other gods, all the gods, the great saintly persons, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Bhutaloka, the demons, the followers of the other gods, and also Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other gods subordinate to Indra, all returned to their respective homes while departing. However, no one spoke to Indra. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other gods returned to their respective abodes, but Indra did not, for he was disturbed at having killed Vritasura, a Brahmin. After killing Vritasura, Indra went to the Manas Sarovar lake to become free from sinful reactions. When he felt, when he left the lake, he performed an Aswamedha yajna and then returned to his own abode. Maharaja Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Maharshi, O great sage, what was the reason for Indra's unhappiness? I used to hear about this. When he killed Vritasura, all other gods were extremely happy because Vritasura was supporting the Asuras. Why then was Indra was himself unhappy? It's the question of Indra to know why. Question of Parikshit Raja want to know why Indra became unhappy in spite of all the other gods are happy. This, of course, is a very intelligent question. When a demon is killed, certainly all the gods are happy. In this case, however, when all the other gods were happy because of Vartasura's having been killed, Indra was unhappy. Why? It may be suggested that Indra was unhappy because he knew that he had killed a great devotee and Brahmana. Vartasura was also a great devotee of Narayana. Outwardly appeared to be a demon, but inwardly he was a great devotee and therefore a great Brahmana also. Herein, it is clearly indicated that a person who is not at all demonic, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, may outwardly be a demon, but or be born in a family of demons. Therefore, in terms of real culture, one should not be considered a god or a demon simply according to their birth. In his dealings, while fighting with Indra, Vritasura proved himself a great devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana. Furthermore, as soon as he finished fighting with Indra and he was apparently killed, Vritasura was transferred to Vaikuntha to become an associate of Sankarsana. Indra knew this and therefore he was morose at having killed such a demon who was actually Vaishnava and Brahmana and Vishnu Bhakta. Vaishnava is already a Brahman, although Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava. That Padma Purana says, Satkarma Nipuna Vipro, Mantra Tantra Visharadaha, Avishinova Gurur Na Sayad, Vaishnava Swa Pako Guruha, Pacho Guruhu. One may be Brahmana in terms of his culture and family, and may be expert in Vedic knowledge. But if he is not a Vaishnava, he cannot be a Guru. Vishnu Aradhakas only will respected Guru. This means that an expert Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava. But a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. A millionaire may very easily possess hundreds and thousands of dollars. But a person with hundreds and thousands of dollars is not necessarily a millionaire. Vritasura was a perfect Vaishnava and therefore he was also a Brahmana. Sri Shukadeva Goswami answered the question. When all the great sages and all the other gods were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Vritasura, they had assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahmana, declined their request. Indra is afraid of killing Vishnu Bhakta. The king Indra replied, when I killed Vishwarupa, I received extensive sinful reactions. Vishwarupa is the brother of Vritasura. King Indra replied, when I killed Vishwarupa, who came as a teacher to Indra, as a guru, I received extensive sinful reactions, but I was favored by the woman, land, trees, and water, and therefore I was able to divide the sin among them. But now, if I kill Vritasura, another Brahmana, how shall I free myself from the sinful reactions? This was the question for Indra to be answered. Shukadeva Maharshi, hearing this, the great sages replied to King Indra, O King of Heaven, all good fortune unto you, do not fear. We shall perform an Aswamedha sacrifice to release you from any sin you may acquire by killing the Brahmana. The rishis continued, O King Indra, by performing Aswamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul Lord Narayana, the Supreme Controller, one can be relieved even the sinful reactions of killing the entire world, not to speak of killing a demon like Vritasura. One who has killed a Brahmana, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayana. Other sinful persons, such as dog eaters, chandalas, who are less than Shudras, can also be freed in this way. But you are a devotee, and we shall help you by performing the great horse sacrifice. If you please, if you please Lord Narayana in that way, why should you be afraid? You will be freed even if you'll kill the entire universe, including the Brahmanas, not to speak of killing a disturbing demon like Vritasura. This means that by once chanting the holy name of Lord, one can be freed from the reactions of more sins that he can ever imagine the performing. The holy name is so spiritually potent that simply by chanting the holy name, one can be freed from the reactions to all sinful activities. What then is to be said of those who chant the holy name regularly or worship the deity regularly? For such purified devotees, freedom from sinful reaction is certainly assured. This does not mean, however, that one should intentionally commit sinful acts and think himself free from the reactions because of his chanting the holy name. Such a mentality is most abominable, offensive at the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, holy name. Namno Bharada Asya Bharadavyasya Hi Papa Buddhi. The Lord's holy name certainly has the potency to neutralize all sinful reactions and activities. But if one repeatedly and intentionally commits sins while chanting the holy name, he is most condemned. These verses name the performers of various sinful deeds. In the Manu Samhita, the following names are given: a son begotten by a Brahmana and born from the womb of a Shudra mother is called Parasva Nishoda, Parasva or Nishada. A hunter accustomed to stealing, a son begotten by a Nishada in the womb of a Shudra woman is called Pukkasa. A child got by Kshatriya in the womb of a daughter of Shudra is called an Ugra. A child begotten by Shudra in the womb of a daughter of a Kshatriya is called Ksata. A child got by a Kshatriya in the womb of a lower class woman is called Swada, or a dog eater. All such offspring are considered extremely sinful, but the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so strong that all of them can be purified simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The Hare Krishna movement offers everyone a chance to be purified, regardless of birth or family, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kritas, Hunas, Andras, Pulandas, Pulkas, Abhirasas, Sumambas, Yuvanas, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of devotees of the Lord. For he is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Even such sinful persons can certainly all be purified if they chant the holy name of the Lord under the direction of a pure devotee. Herein the sages encourage King Indra to kill Vritasura even at the risk of Brahma hathya. Herein the sages encourage King Indra to kill Vritasura even at the risk of Brahma hathya, the killing of Brahmana, and they guarantee to release him from sinful reactions by performing Aswamedha yajna. Such purposeful devised atonement, however, cannot relieve the performer of sinful acts. This will be seen from the following verse. The 10th shloka. Shuka is telling, Shuka uvacha evam sanchodito viprairma ratmana hrudipam brahmahatya hate tasminna sasana vrashakipam. Shukavacha. Sri Shukadeva Maharshi said, encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritasura, and when he was killed, the sinful reaction for killing of Brahmana certainly took shelter of Indra. After killing Vritasura, Indra could not surpass the Brahma hathya, the sinful reactions for killing Brahmana. Formerly, he had killed one Brahmana, Vishwarupa, out of circumstantial anger, but this time, following the advice of sages, he killed another Brahmana purposefully. Therefore, the sinful reaction was greater than before. Indra could not be relieved from the reaction simply by performing sacrifices for atonement. He had to undergo a severe series of sinful reactions, and when he was freed from by such suffering, the Brahmanas allowed him to perform the horse sacrifice. The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord or undergoing prayaschitta, atonement, cannot give relief for anyone, even to Indra or Nahusha. Nahusha was officiating for Indra while Indra, absent from his heavens, was going here and there to gain release from his sinful reaction. Following the advice of gods, Indra killed Vritasura and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other gods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritasura. Indra's other good qualities such as tolerance and opulence could not help him in his grief. One cannot be happy by committing sinful acts even if one is endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, "This person has killed Brahmana for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness." Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven, enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the consequences and acquisitions of the populations. Indra saw personified sinful reaction chasing him, appearing like a Chandala woman, a woman of the lowest class. She seemed very old, and all the limbs of her body trembled. Because she was afflicted with tuberculosis, her body and garments were covered with blood. Breathing an unbearable fishy odor that polluted the entire street, she called Indra, "Wait, wait." She called Indra, "Wait, wait." When a person afflicted with tuberculosis, he often vomits blood, which makes his garments bloody. O King Indra, first flee to the sky. O King Indra, first flee to the sky. But there are also, he saw the woman personified sin chasing him. This witch followed him wherever he went. At last, he was very quickly went to the northeast and entered the Manas Sarovar lake. Indra was followed by a Chandala woman, Sudra woman, old lady, and wherever he go, she was following him. So Indra don't know how to get away from this Chandala woman. At last, he very quickly went to the northeast in the Himalaya, entered the Manas Sarovar lake. He went under the water in the Manas Sarovar lake. The lake water is very, very cold. I've been to Manas Sarovar in the summer. The water in the Manas Sarovar is very cold and pleasant. Always thinking of how he could be relieved from the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, King Indra, invisible to everyone. Always thinking of how he could be relieved from the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, King Indra is worried. He became invincible to everyone, lived in the lake for 1,000 years in the subtle fibers of the stem of a lotus. The fire god used to bring him his share of all yajnas, but because the fire god was afraid to enter the water, Indra was practically starving for 1,000 years. As long as King Indra lived in the water, wrapped in the stem of the lotus, Nahusha was equipped with the ability to rule heavenly kingdom due to his knowledge, austerity, and mystic power. Nahusha, however blinded and maddened by power and opulence, made undesirable proposals to Indra's wife with a desire to enjoy her. Thus, Nahusha was cursed by a Brahmana and later became a snake. Indra's sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, the Rudra of all directions, because Indra was protected by the goddess of fortune, Lord Vishnu's wife, who resides in the lotus clusters of Manas Sarovar lake. Indra's sins could not affect him. Indra was ultimately relieved of all the reactions of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. Then he was called back to the heavenly planets by the Brahmanas and reinstated in his position. O king, when Lord Indra reached the heavenly planets, the saintly Brahmins approached him and properly initiated him into the horse sacrifice, Aswamedha yajna, meant to please the Supreme Lord Narayana. The horse sacrifice, Aswamedha yajna, performed by the saintly Brahmins, relieved Indra by the reactions relieved Indra from the Brahma dosha to all his sins because he worshipped the supreme person of Godhead in that sacrifice, Narayana. O king, although he had committed a gravely sinful act, it was nullified by that sacrifice. Just a fog is vanquished by the brilliant sunrise. King Indra was favored by Marichi and the other great sages. They performed a sacrifice just according to the rules and regulations, worshipping the supreme personality of Godhead, Narayana, the super soul, the original person. Thus, Indra regained his exalted position and was again honored by everyone. In this very great narrative, there is a glorification of the supreme person of Godhead, Narayana. There are statements about the exaltedness of devotional service. There are descriptions of devotees like Indra and Vritasura. And there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful reactions. Therefore, the learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses, his opulence will increase, and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies, and the duration of his life will increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects. Learned scholars regularly hear and repeat it on every festival day. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of 6th canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Indra got Brahma dosha, sinful reaction, and he wiped out by doing Aswamedha yajna after 1,000 years of staying in the Manas Sarovar. Regarding our author Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada, some few words is worth telling because he has done a great job of propagating the Mahabhagavad Purana and Bhagavad Gita all over the world. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada appeared in this world in 1896 in Calcutta, India. He is born in the West Bengal, Calcutta, India. He first met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, in Calcutta in 1922. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, a prominent devotional scholar and the founder of 64 Gaudiya Mathas, Vedic institutes, led this educated young man and convinced him to dedicate his life to teaching of Vedic knowledge. Srila Prabhupada became his student, and 11 years later, in 1933, at Allahabad, he became his formally initiated disciple. At their first meeting in 1922, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur requested Sri Prabhupada to broadcast Vedic knowledge through the English language. In the years that followed, Srila Prabhupada wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, assisted in Gaudiya Matha in its work, and in 1944, without assistance, started an English fortnightly magazine, edited it, typed it, manuscripts, and checked the galley proof. He even distributed the individual copies freely and struggled to maintain the publication. You can imagine that during that time, the 1922 and 1933, when he started doing that, our knowledge of printing press and publications and all the work to do this job was not easy. Without assistance, started an English fortnightly magazine, edited it, typed the manuscripts, and checked the galley proofs. He even distributed the individual copies freely and struggled to maintain the publication. Once began, the magazine never stopped. It is now being continued by his disciples in the West, all over the world, in Western society. Recognizing Srila Prabhupada's philosophical learning and devotion, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Society honored him in 1947 with the title Bhaktivedanta. In 1950, at the age of 54, Srila Prabhupada retired from married life, and 4 years later, he adopted the Vanaprastha retired order to devote more time to his studies and writing. Srila Prabhupada traveled to the holy city of Vrindavana, where he lived in very humble circumstances in the historic medieval temple of Radha Damodara. There he engaged for several years in deep study and writing. He accepted the renounced order of life, sannyasa, in 1959. At Radha Damodara, Srila Prabhupada began work on his life's masterpiece, a multi-volume translation and commentary on the 18,000 words of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana. He also wrote Easy Journey to Other Planets. After publishing 3 volumes of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada came to the United States in 1965 to fulfill the mission of his spiritual master. Since that time, His Divine Grace has written over 40 volumes of authoritative translations, commentaries, and summary studies of the philosophical and religious classics of India. In 1965, when he first arrived by ship in the New York City, Srila Prabhupada was practically penniless. It was after almost a year of great difficulty that he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in July 1966. Under his careful guidance, the society has grown within a decade to a worldwide confederation of almost 100 ashramas, schools, temples, institutes, and forum communities. In 1968, Srila Prabhupada created a new Vrindavana, an experimental Vedic community in the hills of West Virginia. Inspired by the success of New Vrindavana, now thriving forum community of more than 1,000 acres, his students have since founded several similar communities in the United States and abroad. In 1972, His Divine Grace introduced the Vedic system of primary and secondary education in the West by founding the Gurukula School in the Dallas and Texas. The school began with 3 children in 1972, and by the beginning of 1975, the enrollment had grown up to 150. Srila Prabhupada has also inspired the construction of a large international center at Sridham Mayapur in West Bengal, India, which is also the site of planned Institute of Vedic Studies. A similar project is the magnificent Krishna Balaram Temple and International Guest House in Vrindavana, India. These are centers where Westerners can live to gain first-hand experience of Vedic culture, where the India is the birthplace of Vedic culture. Srila Prabhupada's most significant contribution, however, is his books, highly respected by the academic community for their authoritativeness, depth, and clarity. They are used as a standard textbooks in numerous college of courses. His writings have been transferred into 11 languages. Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, established in 1972 exclusively to publish the works of His Divine Grace, has thus become the world's largest publisher of books in the field of Indian religion and philosophy and Vedanta literature. Its latest project in the publishing, Srila Prabhupada's most recent work, a 17-volume translation and commentary completed by Sri Prabhupada in only 18 months on the Bengali religious classic Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the past 10 years, in spite of his advanced age, Srila Prabhupada has circled the globe 12 times on lecture tours that have taken him to 6 continents. In spite of such a vigorous schedule, Srila Prabhupada continues to write prolifically. His writings constitute a variable library of Vedic philosophy, religion, literature, and culture. The purports of Srimad Bhagavatam are confirmed by standard Vedic authorities. The following authentic scriptures are specifically cited in this volume on the pages listed. Srila Prabhupada Swami is a great personality. He is a great devotee of Narayana, and he has done a lot of hard work in propagating the Bhagavata philosophy and Bhagavad Gita to all over the world. We have to respect him as a great teacher and a great advisor of Vedanta philosophy in the whole world. So we finished the 13th chapter, and we have to go to the 14th chapter now. I have told about the author some information, which is very useful for the people who have not known Prabhupada Swami. It is useful to hear. He's a great philosopher, great teacher, and great Vedantist. So we are going to the 14th chapter in the 6th skanda of Mahabhagavata. This gives a previous history of Vratasura. Who was Vratasura? Why he became Vratasura and such a big, gigantic personality, and all this will be described in the 14th chapter. Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun. It gives a great relief for the people when they understood the whole philosophy of Bhagavata. It is very difficult to understand the Bhagavata philosophy in one reading. I think several times listening, several times hearing, several times reading may give a guidance and understanding of the Mahabharata Purana in properly. It takes a long time, but it is worth reading. So I will tell the 14th chapter. The Purva Charitre of Vratasura. In this 14th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj asked his spiritual master Shukadeva Guru, about the past history of Vratasura. Vratasura could become an exalted devotee, but why he became a monster, why he became against God, King Indra, the Parikshit Raj wanted to know. In this connection, the previous life of Vratasura is discussed. This involves the story of Chitraketu and who and how he was victimized by lamentation because of the death of his son. Among many millions of living entities, the number of human beings is extremely small, and among human beings who are actually religious, only some are eager to be liberated from the material existence. Among many thousands of people who desire relief from the material existence, one is freed from the association of unwanted persons or is relieved of material contamination. And among many millions of such liberated persons, one may become a devotee of Lord Narayana. Therefore, such devotees are extremely small number, since Bhakti Marga, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service is not ordinary. Parikshit Maharaja was astonished that an Asura could also to an exalted position of a devotee. Being doubtful, Parikshit Maharaja inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, who then described Vratasura with reference to his previous birth as Chitraketu, the king of Surasena. Chitraketu, who had no sons, got an opportunity to meet that great sage Angirasa. When Angirasa inquired from the king about his welfare, the king expressed his moroseness, unhappiness due to not having children, and therefore, by the grace of the great sage Angirasa, the king's first wife, Krutyuduti, gave birth to a son who was the cause of both happiness and lamentation also for the king. Upon the birth of his son, the king and all the residents of the palace were very happy. The co-wives of Krutyuduti, however, were envious, and later they administered poison to the child. The other wives of the king were jealous of king, more fond of this son and that wife who got a child. However, very envious, and later they administered poison to this child. Chitraketu was overwhelmed by shock at his son's death. Then Narada Muni and Angirasa went to see him again. So the first shloka, Parikshita Uvacha, it starts. Parikshita Uvacha. Rajastama Swabhavasya Brahmanya Vratasta Paptanaha Narayane Bhagavati Katama Sidridamati. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, O learned Brahmana, demons are generally sinful, being obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. How then could Vritasura have attained such exalted love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana? So he is questioning how he became Narayana's devotee, Vritasura. The other gods situated in the mode of goodness and great saints, cleansed of the dirt of material enjoyment, hardly ever render pure devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. Therefore, how could Vritasura have become such a great devotee of Narayana? In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Among these living entities, a very few are human beings, and among them, few are interested in following religious principles. It's interesting. The whole entire world or population is so big. Many living entities are atoms. Among these living entities, very few are human beings. And among them, a few are interested in the following religious principles. And also, very few of them or listen to Mahabharata Purana also possibly. The number of people who are listening Bhagavad Puran and doing Bhakti Yoga and Bhakti Marga is also small. Oh, best of the Brahmanas, Shukadeva Maharishi, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. And among many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very few. There are four classes of men, namely karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. This statement pertains especially to karmis and jnanis. A karmi tries to be happy within this material world by changing from one body to another. His objective is bodily comfort, either in this planet or in another. When such a person becomes jnani, however, he aspires for liberation from material bondage. Among many such persons who aspire for liberation, one may actually be liberated during his life. Such a person gives up his attachment for society, friendship, love, country, family, wife, and children. Among many such persons who are in the vanaprastha stage, one may understand the value of becoming sannyasi, completely accepting the renounced order of life. Since we are going to read Bhagavata in Kannada language with another group now, we are going to end this for today's discussion, and I will come back tomorrow to continue the Chitraketu story. Om Sama Om Keshwaya Namaha Narayana Namaha Madhvaya Namaha Govindaya Namaha Vishnuvaya Namaha Vasudaya Namaha